You may be seated.
Now it's time for our BYSPN profile behind the tallis for an in-depth look at our current team manager and coach. This guy we just happen to know personally.
Wearing number 3, David Stein, because, well, I'm number 1 and Brad is number 2. David joined Beth Yeshurun in 1966 and has been with the team 57 years. He was a third-round draft pick at a very young age into Beth High Yelad farm team and Beth Yeshurun Day School. He was bar mitzvahed here, married here, and has raised his family here. His 2 children sitting in the far reaches of the outfield. No, actually, they've moved up to the front row. Jonathan and Julie both attended school here and were subjected to the same rigorous on- and off-the-field training that he was subjected to. David has been on the board many years. He and his wife, Andrea, have chaired and co-chaired several fundraising projects together, not just for Beth Yeshurun, but for several other Jewish philanthropic causes as well. 2 years ago, he was called up to coach in the big leagues and take the team to the next level. And the rest, they say, is now officially Shul sports history.
At this time, I would like to invite a man who is not only the acting president of Beth Yeshurun, at least for another few minutes, but also its biggest fan, my brother, David Stein.
Wow. Thank you, Gary and Brad, Bob and Al. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. And I'm proud to be number 3, just because I couldn't ask for 2 better older brothers than number 1 and number 2. So thank you very much for the kind words that you said. I was really worried when they said they were going to host this and MC it, but they did okay. So it is my honor to officially call the 2023 Beth Yeshurun annual meeting to order. What an incredible year it has been for Congregation Beth Yeshurun. I need to start by thanking Neil Teibel, who I know is here somewhere. Where's Neil? Neil Teibel, who filled in admirably for us as an interim cantor after Mayor Finkelstein left for Florida. Neil, you have a very bright future ahead, and we know you will be successful in your career. Let's give a round of applause for Neil. In July, our new senior cantor, Rachel Goldman, took over, and she hit the ground running. We had bar and bat mitzvah starting in August, and preparations began immediately for high holidays. We did not know how many congregants would be on our campus for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but still I am pleased to inform you that at our peak, we had over 2,500 people here between the main sanctuary service, the chapel service, the museum minyan, and all of our family programs. Along with Cantor Goldman, we were lucky to have brought Julie Saxon as our new accompanist. These 2 not only provided Beth Yeshurun with beautiful high holiday services, but they have also re-energized our Shabbat services as well. Seeing many of you returning to our synagogue for Shabbat has been so inspiring. Thanks again in large part to our incredible program director, Jennifer Rosenzweig. We had another great year of events at Beth Yeshurun. First, we had an amazing installation concert for Cantor Goldman, featuring 10 of the best cantors in the country, including Nathaniel Hershtick, Gideon Zellermeyer, Roz Barrick, Daniel Mendelson, and of course, Lori Akers and Rachel Brook, her fellow Shul sisters. This was followed up by another fantastic Hanukkah Light Up the Sky celebration with great food, an interactive kids' darkroom, and an incredible fireworks show. Also during Hanukkah, we were pleased to welcome Houston Astros third baseman Alex Bregman and Channel 2 sports reporter Ari Alexander to Beth Yeshurun for a fun Q&A program. This gained national publicity, and we had about 900 people in attendance. This was all made possible by Lori Herzog and her persistence, which paid off for us in a big way. Thank you, Lori. Once the calendar turned to 2023, we had more successful events in the works. Cantor Goldman planned our very first Rock Shabbat, and we had over 750 people here. What a fun night that was, singing all of our Shabbat prayers to some of our favorite classic rock songs. That weekend, we also celebrated Purim with a Purim Fest, including a carnival and various other activities for all ages. Soon after, we had a beautiful and powerful tribute night for Rabbi Jack Siegel and his wife, Toby. This included an original hibachi-style dinner created by our talented catering director, Marco Alvarado, and a concert featuring Cantor Goldman and the Schul sisters. To wrap up the programming year, Rabbi Morgan and Rabbi Fort hosted a second night Passover Seder with over 125 people attending. Thank you to all of those who made these events and so many more very successful. Our Director of Development, Jennifer Sutton, was also busy again this year. Not only did she continue to raise money for our endowment, but she also had several successful fundraising projects. She collaborated with Sarah Brahm, Arlene Staller, and Andrea Stein to design brand new Torah covers, which have all been dedicated. She also raised funds to replace the curtains in the Pulaski Rouch Auditorium and the partition wall between the Barg Sanctuary and the Pulaski Rouch. In the meantime, she has had several more museum cases dedicated, and there's still 18 more left. If anyone's interested, just contact Jennifer. Our commitment to excellence in education was also displayed this past year. I would love to thank our head of the religious school, Cheryl Eskowitz, and our Beth Yeshurun Day School head of school, Jennifer Levine, and our education committee chair, Bill Schwartz, for maintaining the strong bond between the synagogue and educating our youth. Cantor Goldman and Julie Sachs lead our day school kids in Shabbat services every Friday morning, and Cheryl also plans excellent educational events for our religious school kids. For example, several weeks ago, she and her staff planned a unique Israel Palooza event which celebrated Israel's 75th birthday. I can't say enough about the beautiful job that our Inclusion Committee does. This past year was highlighted by their inspiring Rosh Hashanah service, their Hanukkah program, and a sensory-sensitive mini carnival, which was included with the Purim Fest. Thanks as always to Jennifer Rosenzweig, Richard Kammerman, Judy Blake, and Alma Groden for all your help in making these events possible. The Beth Yeshurun Sisterhood also had fantastic events, including their Torah Fund Luncheon, which honored Linda Atziel, Sharon Siegel, and Judy Yambra. In addition, I want to thank Vicki Richker and Barbara Kozlov for their many years of dedicated service and leadership to the sisterhood. I would also like to congratulate Julie Kaplan and Jordana Rotman for being our new co-presidents. I know that the two of you will be successful. I'd also like to thank the leaders of our 100 Jewish Men program and the speakers they brought in this year. Rabbi Strauss and Stephen Sheldon created a new program called 4525 Live, and so far we have featured guests Ziggy Gruber and Dr. Garth Davis. Their next event is June 1st, featuring Natalie Marks, who will share her incredible success story. Another exciting milestone was achieved by our synagogue this past year when we officially received our historic landmark plaque. This has been several years in the making, and I would like to thank Glenn Rosenbaum, Gary Schwartz, and Jared Bloom for making this all possible. One topic that's been on many people's minds this year has been security, and Beth Yeshurun takes our security very seriously. We have partnered with the day school to ensure that we now have 2 security guards on our campus protecting our building, our congregants, and most importantly, our children. We've also repaired some of our fencing around the school, upgraded our video surveillance and access controls, and added pipe bollards in front of our building and school. I would personally like to thank Gil Macedo and Jay Smith, who chairs our security committee. And last but not certainly least, I know we've been talking about this for 2 years, but our new HVAC system, our air conditioning system, has finally been completed. Once again, a big thank you to the chair of our building committee, Paul Metter, for overseeing this project. So there's an old saying that goes, if you ever see a turtle on a fence post, you know he had help getting there. As my term as president comes to a close, there are so many people to thank for all of your guidance and support. First and foremost, I need to thank all of you, the members of this great synagogue. Your support by just being here for our incredible programs, our Shabbat services, our high holiday services, and everything else we have to offer. I have enjoyed getting to know so many of you and look forward to continuing to see all of you here. Thanks also to my executive committee, Jared Bloom, Arthur Nathan, Carrie Hoffman, Lori Herzog, Andrew Tobin, Jeff Lefkowitz, and Ronnie Most. A huge thank you to all of the past presidents and board of trustees who have helped advise and guide me over the last few years. Next, I'd like to thank all of my committee chairs, our building committee, Paul Metter, our budget committee, John Fywell, who is phenomenal with our budget. And thank you, John, for staying on for 2 more years. I know Lori will appreciate it. You really do a great job. Our development committee, Susan Sandler, who also heads up our B'nai Mitzvah committee as well. Our education committee, Bill Schwartz. Inclusion committee, Richard Kammerman. Investment committee, Marty Peskin. Our legal committee, Micah Kessler. Membership, Mark Newman. Our ritual committee, Arthur Nathan. Security committee, Jay Smith. And our social action chairs, Morgan Steinberg and Lindsay Tavor. I'd like to please give them all a big round of applause because I couldn't do this without them. This synagogue is blessed to have outstanding clergy, led by our senior rabbi, Brian Strauss, our associate rabbis, Steve Morgan and Sarah Fort, and our senior cantor, Rachel Goldman. We are also so very fortunate to have 2 very loved and respected Rabbi Emeriti and Rabbi David Rosen and Rabbi Jack Siegel. I know you've heard their names before, but I want to recognize all of our staff, starting at the top, with our extraordinarily talented and dedicated executive director, Andy Berger. Andy, you work tirelessly to ensure that your synagogue is at its best daily. I know I've mentioned some of these other names, but again, the success of Beth Yeshurun is due in large part to our incredible staff. Our programming director, Jennifer Rosenzweig. Our development director, Jennifer Sutton. Our membership director, Mindy Stern. Our catering and facilities director, Mark Alvarado. Our communications and marketing director, Ashley Mills. Our clergy assistants, Abby Rotenberg, Lisa Unsel, and Sarah Kaiser. Our accounting team, Nicole Deloach, Ellen Petrus, and Diane Gordon. Our incredible maintenance staff, led by Bruce Jackson. And finally, the first person you see when you walk into our offices, Gail Schnur. Those are the people behind the scenes that really make this place go. A big, big thank you to all of you. Finally, to my family, to my brothers, Gary and Brad. Thank you first of all, for helping MC tonight. But more than that, I appreciate your advice, your encouragement, and your understanding. I love you both and could not ask for 2 better older brothers and role models from which I have learned so much. To my dad, AKA Mr. Beth Yeshurun, you are an inspiration and a mentor to me. I learned so much from watching and most of the time listening, because it's hard not to hear you, but listening to all that it is hard to put into words just how much you mean, not just to me, but to your entire family. Please know how much you are loved. To my children, Julie and Jonathan, thanks also for your support from Dallas and Austin. I appreciate you listening to me and for taking the time to be here tonight. I love you both more than you know. And finally, to my incredible wife and Beth Yeshurun First Lady, Andrea. You are my everything. I could not have taken this 2-year journey without you. Some people have second homes in the mountains, or by a lake, or the beach, but you have embraced Beth Yeshurun as our second home. You brighten up everyone's Shabbat when you are here greeting people with your warm and friendly smile. I love you today, tomorrow, and forever. So, as I take my leave tonight, I know that our synagogue will be in great hands under your new president, Lori Herzog. She is extremely dedicated, and she will work hard to ensure the continued success of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. It has indeed been an honor serving as your 40th president of this great synagogue. I thank everyone for all you do for Congregation Beth Yeshurun, the most prominent conservative synagogue in the United States. Thank you.
And now, I would like to call up Andrea Stein, our manager's manager, to say just a few words.
Good evening. Tonight is a very special night for my husband, David, and I. I stand before you today beaming with pride at the incredible accomplishments my husband has made during his time as president at Beth Yeshurun. It's been amazing to witness the dedication, passion, hard work that he has put in. For the past 2 years, David has worked very hard to strengthen our congregation and ensure that our spiritual home remains a warm and welcoming place for all who enters these doors. As his wife, I can attest to the countless hours, sleepless nights, and numerous phone calls that David has devoted to this congregation. I know firsthand how much he loves and cares for this community, and I feel so lucky to see it all unfold. As David's term comes to an end tonight, I want to thank each and every one of you for your support and trust in him, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve alongside him. David, you have inspired all of us with your love and devotion to this congregation. Your leadership has been a source of inspiration for so many, and your tireless devotion to Beth Yeshurun has been nothing short of remarkable. Thank you, Congregation Beth Yeshurun, for your unwavering support and love. May this community continue to flourish, grow, and thrive for years to come.
Thank you, Andrea. And now I'd like to call upon our man of the cloth, and on it wearing number 51, originally from Dallas via the University of Texas at Austin, drafted in the first round, Rabbi Brian Strauss.
Kind of wish my number was 31, but I'll take 51. That's okay. So there's so much I could say about our outgoing president, David Stein, and how much he's done for all of us and so many over the last 2 years. But for David, it wasn't just about the meetings and phone calls and letters and emails and programs and services and speeches, which is all so important. And David did such an exceptional job. He was always happy to be there when needed. But it wasn't just about the work he needed to do. It was the fact that David always went above and beyond. And I want to share with you 2 stories that I think set an example for the type of president that David was. Many of you may know our members, Martin and Michelle Greenberg. Martin and Michelle recently moved to Chicago to be with their family. Several months ago, Michelle passed out during services, and thank God she was okay. And everyone filed out, but there was David, along with a few other people. And while everyone wanted to talk to David like they always do, everyone wanted to be with David like they always do, and David had places to be after services to get to dinner, but David stayed and stayed and stayed with the 2 of them just to make sure that Michelle was okay. As the paramedics arrived, there was David to comfort her husband, to comfort Michelle. But it continues. A few weeks later, we were going to acknowledge the Greenbergs before they would move off to Chicago at a Friday night service. And I was just going to say a few words to the 2 of them. But without me knowing, without I think anyone knowing, there was David on the bema with a bouquet of flowers just to present to this elderly couple before they moved, to make them feel a little bit better about the difficult journey ahead, leaving the place they've lived in for the last several decades, just adding that extra touch, that extra bit of love that David did for everyone, not just the leaders of our congregation, but any member of this congregation. David loved them with all his heart and all his being because they were members of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. And not only was David supportive of the members of this congregation, but also the staff in countless ways, from members of the maintenance staff to the kitchen staff to the office staff to the clergy. I want to share one story with you. Back in the fall, Rabbi Ford had a young adult program at the Willow Waterhole. They were going to go there, a group of about 20, 30 young adults, to clean up on a Sunday afternoon. Clean it up, paint some things, and so forth. And I told David, you don't need to go to that. I mean, no offense, David, these are for young adults. You don't really have to go. But I forgot who I was talking to. That's David. He was going there not only to get to know some of these young adults, members of our congregation, but also to support Rabbi Fort, to check in on Rabbi Fort, make sure she was doing okay, to show his support for her because she's a member of our staff. And there, you may have seen it on Facebook, there was a picture of David crouching down painting one of the, I don't know what it was, a trash can or something at Willow Waterhole, working with all the young adults. And that was the presidency of David Stein. And I think something that all of us will remember, I think every single one of us, and countless other members of this Kehillah, will have those stories forever about this president went above and beyond, like so many that went before him, but in his own special way, to make all of us feel loved and appreciated as staff and members of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. David did it because that's who he is. And for the last 2 years, David reminded me of Aharon, the Aharon of the Torah, that the tradition tells us that Ohev Shalom v'Rodef Shalom. Aaron loved peace and pursued peace, and he made peace between man and his friend. David, like Aaron of the biblical period, you two have created so much shalom, so much peace here in our congregation. It's not easy. We are a large community. There are different interests sometimes, different beliefs, but a president like David, because who he was, because of that lev tov, that good heart, created so much peace. And I knew that David felt good when things were going well because he had that smile. He wasn't doing it for himself. He was doing it because he loves this place so much. I saw that smile, like so many of us, when someone was helped and when someone here had a positive Jewish experience. David's smile was priceless, and I know will continue to inspire all of us. We read in the book of Psalms a praise of King David, the original David, who led our people. It says, God chose David, his servant. He brought to him to be the shepherd of the people Jacob, and David shepherded them with integrity of heart. With skillful hands, he led them. Like King David, you, David Stein, led us with integrity and with skillful guidance in your role as our congregational president. David, you are a leader who will be forever remembered with gratitude and love. And so I have two gifts that I'm going to present to you and to your extraordinary First Lady, who I could also share numerous stories of how Andrea went above and beyond to bring in so much love to this congregation. First, a museum case has been donated anonymously in honor of the two of you. And it reads, given in recognition of devoted leadership as Beth Yeshurun's president and first lady to David and Andrea Stein. And in that case that you'll see outside in our Kaplan Museum is a traditional Shabbat table, the Kiddush cup, the wine, the challah. But there's one thing missing that in that case, and it's been missing for the last couple years at Beth Yeshurun. And it's something we all love on Friday nights. And let me show you what that is, because I have a role for David and Andrea as our past president and past first lady. So first, a bag of chocolates. Now, why would I present a bag of chocolates to David and Andrea? Well, for those of you here in our Hanukkah programs the last 2 years, you may have seen a blue dreidel walking around Pulaski Rouch Auditorium. It wasn't Hanukkah Harry. It was David Stein. And I'm just going to get David in trouble a little bit, even though it was a meat meal. We said, David, I don't know if you should be passing these out. Do it outside Pulaski Rouch. Robbie Erkowitz isn't here, is he? Okay. Well, anyway. But David, it's being recorded. Well, we'll take this part out, Ashley. David couldn't help himself because he loves bringing, as I mentioned earlier, that joy and happiness to people of all ages. So not only I have this bag of candy, but one more thing. Not just a bag to pass out the candy, but these two trays. One that says to David Stein in honor of his sweet presidency, and to Andrea Stein in honor of elegant terms is our beloved First Lady. To David and Andrea.
So what's for dinner tonight? Is it milk or dairy? Okay, okay. All right, maybe afterwards. We'll get outside of the. Anyway, thank you so much, Rabbi Strauss. It has indeed been an honor working with our incredible clergy, you and Rabbi Morgan, Rabbi Fort, Cantor Goldman. It has truly been an honor being up here with you these last few years. Thank you again for being the incredible team that you are. So.